Now you may recognize where I am as Disney Springs, or what used to be known as Downtown Disney. I'm actually standing, the World of Disney store is directly in front of me, and that's the main pathway, the road that goes in front of Disney Springs. But back over just around the corner there, that's the Hotel Plaza Boulevard. And on the Hotel Plaza Boulevard is one building that's the Reedy Creek Improvement District. And the Reedy Creek Improvement District is what houses the community association that runs all of Walt Disney World. But that's not all that runs it. There are actually two cities, as I've mentioned in the past. There's the city of Bay Lake and the city of Lake Buena Vista that actually help govern the city as well. And those two cities actually have permanent residents that live in them. But here's the rub. They're all Disney cast members. They're people who are employed by the Walt Disney Company doing the work and doing the job of actually managing the operations. And anything that happens here is at their discretion as people who serve on the board that actually runs the property here. So it's kind of an interesting situation that you've got those people there. They happen to be Disney cast members employed by Disney. They live in houses and housing communities that I won't take you to just because they say cast members only, and they're kind of off the beaten path a little bit. But they do exist, and that's what makes it kind of interesting. Is you've got those different things going on, and you've got different people that are involved in voting on what happens here in the district and in the Walt Disney World Resort. So let's go and take another look at how that works. I know I talked about it in a couple of my earlier video casts, but let's go back and look at it some more and explore it a little bit further. Walt Disney had an ambitious plan for his Florida project. This was going to be the experimental prototype community of tomorrow that was going to be part theme park, part research park, part housing units, and things like that. This required a lot more complexity than anyone had ever done before, probably in the country. So Walt Disney set about working with the state of Florida to figure out how to allow for autonomy to be able to create something on this scale. When Walt died, Roy took over and tried to figure out how to make this work. Now it was complicated, and it really took a lot of effort to build something up, but what they ultimately were able to come to was creating something called the Reedy Creek Improvement District, a special improvement district that allowed Disney a lot of autonomy to do the things they needed to do in terms of building and permitting and bringing in the right people and application reviews and doing things that otherwise probably would have been complicated and hard to do. Now you can see that Roy and the governor at the time really got along pretty well. They were glad-handing and everybody was happy. And so the Reedy Creek Improvement District was set up as this independent governing body that managed how the property around the Walt Disney World Resort would be used. Now, the state granted them a lot of different things. The one thing they did not grant them, specifically, was a police force. Disney was not allowed to create a police force per se. They could use a private security service that allowed them to manage the property and do some things, and they developed a relationship with both the local police, the actual police, and the FBI to create some things around their property to make sure that it was relatively safe. Now, the Orange County Sheriff has been brought in to provide real security and real police action within the property. So that's kind of how that relationship works out. Now, other than that, the Disney company has been granted a lot of things. For example, they have their own fire services. Disney pays within the control district to have fire services, EMS services, that are available as part of the Reedy Creek Fire Department. So there's 4 fire stations on Disney property, complete with paramedics and whatever else, that are run by Disney, and they're paid for by Disney. They're not paid out of the taxpayer dollars. So it's kind of an intriguing relationship that Disney has. The other things that Disney was granted was the ability to do water management and using the water the way they want to, and that's where Joe's ditches come in play, with Joe Potter having created all these water runoffs, making sure the storm water moves a certain way and that there's no mosquitoes. They were also allowed facilities and infrastructure services so they could create water, sewer, and other garbage services that would allow for the property to be run efficiently. The other thing they're allowed is distribution of power through their power network. Disney can create power on their property if they want to, but they subcontract that out to some of the power companies. And probably the biggest thing that Disney gets out of this, and has always gotten, is the ability to build. They have the ability to plan, permit, and inspect all internally. Now, they've always shared with the state and with the county just to make sure that everyone's on board. But their process has been really, really solid. In fact, they created something called the Epcot Building Code that's followed by a lot of the area, and it's a model for how you build and how you build efficiently. So there's something really positive that came from that. The other things that Disney gets are roadways. There's a number of roads within Disney property that are controlled by Disney, paved by Disney, And actually, the upkeep is provided by Disney. So the revenue that comes in is redistributed back to keeping the roadways up and making sure that they're running properly. Of course, there's also mass transportation. Buses being the biggest method of mass transportation, Disney pays for all of this within their services. With all the fees that they take in, they pay for that and the monorail. Now, both of these are overseen by the federal government because they're mass transits and they move people around from place to place. But overall, they are managed by Disney as part of what they have in the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Disney plays nice and actually has 2 cities that they've incorporated within the Reedy Creek Improvement District. This allows them to be functioning cities with actual people living in them and meets the confines and the rules of what a special improvement district should do. The first of these is the city of Bay Lake. This one is actually near Bay Lake, as you might expect, near the Magic Kingdom. And this city is actually set up in a way that allows for them to have a mayor, a city council, and other voting members who are part of the overall infrastructure that runs the whole Disney property. So as you think about how Disney runs, you have 2 cities and a special improvement district. Yes, the people that populate these cities are actually Disney World employees, but you have to consider that they still are independent voters. The second city is the city of Lake Buena Vista. And when you hear Lake Buena Vista, you usually think of Disney World. It's sort of the one that's the most connected to it. This one is actually a little further away and a little further east from where the Walt Disney World Resort is, sort of where the Magic Kingdom is. But again, there were actual residents living here who have a mayor and a city council and so forth, and they actually run just like a functioning city, even though, again, they are people who are employed by the Disney company. Now, both of these, you can't go back and see these properties. They are restricted. It's service and authorized vehicles only, as the sign says out front, so I wouldn't recommend trying to go back there, but you do have a sense of where they are. Now, the Reedy Creek Improvement District is the managing partner for all of this. Joe Potter was the first director of the Reedy Creek Improvement District, and he helped set things in motion as far as what they would do. They work with both of the cities. There are people that get together on a monthly basis to decide how to use the property and how to effectively manage what happens on Disney's property. You can go to the Reedy Creek Improvement website. You can read all about it and what they do. And I find it kind of interesting because they have a really intriguing relationship that they actually manage what happens at Walt Disney World. When you realize that they have 134 miles of road, they have a 6 to 8 minute response time for EMS, 60,000 tons of waste that they manage, 30 tons of recycling, 22,800 water samples collected every year to do the water quality, 90,000 analysis to make sure that they meet the standards, and many vendors that they have a relationship with as well. And so the Reedy Creek Improvement District is a really interesting thing and has a really intriguing history with the Walt Disney World Resort. Arguably, the Magic Kingdom and what became the resort would have never come to fruition had they not had this ability to manage their own land and do the things they needed to do.